And right now, here's Barbara Hauer with part one of an exclusive look at the myth and the music of Billy Joel.
Billy Joel has sold millions of albums, singing songs about his suburban roots, painting pictures on the American pop landscape from that unique point of view. Critics have questioned his sincerity, just as society has questioned the offspring of those in-between cities.
I feel like we were kind of looked at as having, that we're nothing, that we were very vanilla, that there was no culture coming out of the suburbs. And there was a lot of good people in the suburbs. There were a lot of good times. As a matter of fact, most people, I think most people my age grew up in something like that, in a middle-class housing development. And we're not nothings. You know, we are people. We had experience. We had loves and hates and gangs and sex and all those things. You don't have to come from the inner city to have something to say. And you don't have to come from the hills of Appalachia to have something to say. This kid who comes from suburbia is just as American as anybody else.
Well, I'm living here in Allentown, and there's hardly people could not know.
In his current hit, Allentown, Billy speaks to the working class from his own experience.
I've been unemployed. I'm a musician. I mean, musicians go through years and years of not having gigs. I worked all my life. This was a question that came up. How can you speak for working people? I mean, because you've got this money. I mean, how do you think I got my money? I didn't inherit it. I worked very hard. I'm still working hard. You know, touring is work. Writing is work. Recording is work. Even doing interviews is work. Trying to do it good, too.
Did the record company take any exception at all with the fact that you were making rather, you know, good, strong statements in your songs?
Yeah, they didn't want Allentown to start off the album. They thought it was too downbeat. CBS in Europe wanted me to change the title of Goodnight Saigon because they thought it was too controversial. And I said, change the title, why? And they said, because in Europe the press thinks it's too pro-American side of the Vietnamese War. In South Korea, the record company won't put the record out because they think it's too anti-war, anti-Vietnam War. So I've caught a lot of flack from the corporate powers that be, but I always have, though.
From Hitsville to Hitsville, and even during hard times, Billy Joel consistently sells out these big dates. What gives him such universal appeal? We'll find out in part two.
And we'll have that second part on Friday's show when we'll go deeper into the mind and the magic of Billy Joel.
What really turned Billy's attitude around was MTV and seeing how it can work for people.
Video is
This next story, part two of our exclusive Billy Joel profile, complete with some concert footage you've never seen anywhere outside of an expensive ticket. Here's tour guide Barbara Hauer as she explores some of the darker sides of Billy's music.
This next song is dedicated to friends of ours who went very far away. We met as soulmates on Paris Island. We left as inmates from Paris Island.
How did you kind of get the great feel for the Vietnam veterans' plight?
I always read war novels, and those are my favorite books, All Quiet on the Western Front, and The Red Badge of Courage, and Farewell to Arms, For Whom the Bell Tolls. And a lot of them were written by people who weren't there. They were just observers, people who had a feel for the veterans. A lot of my friends went to Vietnam. A lot of them didn't come back. to write a song that wasn't an anti-war song, ooh, the war was wrong, or yay, the war was right. But how about the soldiers? I was going to, say something for them.
Though Goodnight Saigon is an exception, many Billy Joel songs have an autobiographical feel, like Piano Man, his first hit about his early career.
It was a way for me to pay the rent while I was getting out of some bad contracts, and I really put on the act. Good evening, it's really great to see you. You know, this whole Lottie Schmooze guy with the shirt open to here, and how you doing? And the funny thing was, and this was in Hollywood, that these guys would come over and go, hey, kid, you're really great. I can get you in the recording business, And I'd be, no, thanks, I just want to be here on the lounge. It's great.
Just the Way You Are, written for his ex-wife, who put the financial aspect of his work in the right key.
I've been managed by almost a dozen different managers. And I said one day, why don't you do it? You've been around and you know what's going on. And she's a smart businesswoman. And the next day there were telephone lines being put in the house and secretaries running around and bookshelves being put in and file cabinets. And she managed her. She did a very good job, too. She kind of took him by surprise, I assume, in the music business at that time. A woman who was going to be a manager, especially a rock and roll wife, was looked at as like, oh boy, his wife's going to manage him, and I can imagine kind of like a red pencil going through my name.
Are you going to be looking for someone else to share your life with again?
Maybe that's her now.
I love you just the way you